How we doing, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Wolf, and welcome back to Path of Exile. We're going to be going through another Marauder build guide for you today. I promise there will be a different class coming up soon. I'm going to probably play Witch next, and then I think I might do a Ranger afterwards. But with that being said, welcome to my Break the Tide Sunder Juggernaut. This build is a whole lot of fun. Now, personally, I like to kind of base builds on like a theme of sorts. So for Chieftain, it was just fire damage and explosions and that sort of thing, as you saw with my Cyclone Chieftain build. Now my Sunder Juggernaut is a little bit different. It's not quite as fast, but it is definitely on the tankier side and the meatier side. You can survive pretty much anything, and you feel like an absolute tank. Now, it won't be the fastest clear speed build, but it can definitely do some rather high maps from what I've done so far, and you can see a gameplay video coming up tomorrow where I run through a few maps. I think I have a tier 7 here, and I have a unique map we can do as well, and then I'll probably get like a 9 or a 10 bought off of someone that we can do for the build as well. Now with that being said, we're going to do things in kind of an order here. We're going to start in the skill tree, then move into the gear, and then, well, that should pretty much be it. The bandit choices and the prophecies, and then that will be the build guide. Now with that being said, let's pop into the skill tree. Now, one thing that I want to make sure you guys know is that behind your Ascendency panel, there is a ton of life. Make sure you grab this as well. Now, this build is going to make use of, I believe, 6 or 7 jewel slots. 1, 2, 3... 4, 5, and 6. Now, I was originally aiming for 7 and 8, but I realized that that wouldn't be the best idea. Now, the original plan for this build was going to actually be something quite different than what it ended up as. It was going to be a one-shot heavy strike explosive type of build, but that didn't end up working out. Once I realized that the gem that was going to make heavy strike deal double damage was limited to 2 gems, the entire idea kind of fell apart. So I had to do a little bit of salvaging, and this is what we wound up coming up with. And it all synergizes quite well into a very tanky monster. Now, when you first start off, you're going to take the bottom row, grabbing as much life as you can. Come into Warrior's Blood, and of course grab Diamond Skin. 15% all res makes gearing that much easier. Now you can come up here. Now you can take this part optionally. The two-handed damage can be left in favor of more life if you would prefer that route instead. Now you're going to come up, you're going to go over and grab a jewel socket here. Now the reason I went up here is so that I could grab this jewel socket and this jewel socket, which made leveling so easy because I put the ground slam angled gems in there, and I had a ton of ground slam area of effect, and leveling was a cakewalk. So that is my recommendation for leveling this build, is to get these 2 jewel sockets as soon as possible, and then for an alk or 2, grab one of the ground slam gems. You can also grab the fortify one for cleave, and I think there's a couple other ones that should make your leveling a little bit easier. I think you can come up and grab some two-handed damage here, and then make sure to grab the life node in here. This will be very, very beneficial. Going down, we grab Resolute Technique, and then we get as much life as possible. We get extra barbarism life here. Grab the extra node here as well. We go down, grab endurance charges. This is going to be exceptional. We need as many endurance charges as we can get. We're going to be taking all 3, the one up here, the one right here, and then the endurance charge down here. That will all scale up because of course we are playing a Juggernaut. So we're going to make sure we grab that and grab the jewel socket here. In jewel sockets, you're going to want strength and max life. If you get anything else that's just max life and then something else, for example, it should still be workable. I got a few god roll ones which are strength, max life, and an extra strength, which is just exceptional all around. So that's just health, 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 which is fantastic. Now if you get like health, attack speed with maces, or health, two-handed attack speed, that works just fine too. So make sure you grab that jewel socket there, come back up here, grab the endurance charge, devotion, and the extra life here. Come up, grab the jewel socket here as well. This one's got a little bit of extra damage in it, and two-handed attack speed and burning damage. Burning damage scales with Herald of Ash, so I figured I would leave that one in there. This could be traded out for more life if I wanted to hit that 6k cap. Now keep in mind, I'm only level 78, so I have a few more plans going on to about level 90 or so, and then it would just kind of be filling in the empty slots. So that is going to be the top part of the tree done. So after that, you want to come down here, go down over here, go up, grab the jewel socket here, come up, grab all of this constitution, and Path of the Warrior because strength and extra damage, why not? Make sure you get all that life, it's exceptional. And then move your way down to Master of the Arena, go down, get Destroyer for 200 damage down through the 200 nodes, because might as well. Now alternatively, you instead of going here, can go down this side to get a jewel socket here if you want to, but I find this more direct route to just kind of work out better in the end. So taking two-handed damage here, we go down and get Revelry. This will solve most of your mana problems, especially when you deal with a giant group. 2 mana gained for each enemy hit by your attacks will solve a lot of your problems. Now keep in mind I said grab the endurance charge. This is going to be paramount to the build, and then we move over to grab the jewel socket and Golem's blood as well as extra life. Now eventually I will also move over here and grab an extra frenzy charge because we do use blood rage in the build, giving us frenzy charges. At the moment we can only get 3, which is I think 16% or 12% damage, something like that. And grabbing frenzy will boost that damage up even more, as well as our attack speed up even more. So down the line, this will be an alternative grab. Now, with that being said, that is going to be the skill tree. Let's move into the Ascendency, shall we? So you want to go straight ahead to Unflinching. Once you get this, things will start ramping up quite quickly. This makes it so you have a chance to gain an endurance charge when you're hit. This won't really matter. But there is a chance that when you gain an endurance charge, you will instead gain the maximum number of endurance charges. This is exceptional. And then you'll gain an endurance charge every second if you've been hit recently, and +1 to maximum endurance charges. This is just all your generation, and it makes things fantastic. Get that for your first lab, and then after your second lab, you want to go up to start maximizing your damage and your area of effect. Grab Unyielding for increased damage and area of effect per endurance charge, and then a chance to gain an endurance charge when you stun, and increased duration on enemies, or stun duration on enemies per endurance charge. This will be your second one. The third one will be going down to Unrelenting for chaos res for the most part, as well as reduced elemental and physical damage. Now the last set of points is going to be up to you. If I wasn't running Comb's Roots because I wanted a little bit of extra health, I would go into Unstoppable. Otherwise, I may take Unbreakable, but I'll probably still take Unstoppable, and then just swap off the Comb's Roots. But I'm just kind of experimenting with these, because I don't really need any other gem setups, so I figured the extra max life synergized with the already hefty life amounts would work out quite well. Now that is going to be the skill tree. Bandit-wise, I believe I went with Oak, Caitlyn, or not Caitlyn, Alira. I believe she's the mana regeneration one. She would work just fine as well. You do have the odd mana problem when doing single target bossing. You will run out of mana every now and then, but not that much. So that might solve that problem potentially, but that is only a single target problem, and it's not even that big of an issue, so long as you pace yourself correctly. Now into the items, the main weapon we're going to be using is the Tide Breaker. This is where the name of the build comes from, if you didn't pick that part up already. For the reason being is 10% increased physical damage per endurance charge. This also makes it so socketed gems are supported by level 20 endurance charge on melee stun. This is exceptional. This makes it so that whenever you hit something with our main ability, Sunder, it will give us an endurance charge because Sunder actually does a little bit of stun. 19% reduced enemy stun threshold. Now, it's not an exceptional amount of stun, but it will be just enough for us to proc the level 20 endurance charge on melee stun, and that is fantastic. Considering how many enemies we're going to be hitting with Sunder, that'll be proccing exceptionally quickly and give us a chance to get our maximum endurance charges just off of one kill. which is just amazing. Honestly, it sends all of your damage skyrocketing from the physical damage per endurance charge, the physical damage increase, or the flat damage increase, and flat area of effect increase per endurance charge. Here you can see some of the synergies. It is fantastic. Now we're going to put Sunder in here. I have a 15 quality Sunder. The quality will be up to you, just whatever you have access to. And then we have Fortify support. This one is integral, but not until you hit about level 78 or so. This can be switched out depending on what you want to put in this slot, but this is all around a good choice. You get Fortify, you get increased melee physical damage. Now do note, increased is just flat added damage. If you want to really scale Sunder's damage up exponentially, you want to aim for more melee physical damage. That will start scaling your damage very, very fast. Like here with melee physical support, supported skills deal 45% more physical damage. This will start ramping your damage up very, very fast. And then we move on to concentrated effect support. You can put in area of effect support here as well if you want to. I just like leaving this on and just forgetting about it, as opposed to switching in between for bosses and that sort of thing. And I find this works quite well for me. Now I only have it 4 linked because while I am kind of okay currency wise, I don't really feel like going for a 6 link. I don't want to burn through that many fusings. Optimally a 5 link would be damage on full life support, and then the 6 link I'm not really sure. Just more physical damage would most likely be what I would recommend going for. Maybe Bloodlust, possibly Brutality. I think Brutality is the one I'm thinking of. There's one that makes it so you do like more physical damage but no elemental damage. That might wind up being better. We do get fire damage, of course, from Herald of Ash, but I haven't run the numbers on that, so just add more and more damage on top of this. Now don't opt for any of the green alternatives though. Maybe faster attacks could work as well, just to make things maybe play a little bit smoother. Now the reason I say don't opt for many of the green ones is in our chest piece, our Belly of the Beast, making us have a ton of increased health and increased elemental resistances. Of course, making sure that we are capped on our resistances. I'm a little bit undercapped. Excuse me while I move really quick. I am a little bit undercapped, but you make do with what you got, right? The Belly of the Beast is going to be fantastic amounts of health, and it's pretty easy to get a 6 socket and even a 5 link if you need one. This will run you about 10C-ish, possibly. The weapon itself was, I think I bought mine for, I don't really remember. I think I bought mine at 5C, so it's gotten pretty cheap now, 2C. And let's take a look at the Belly of the Beast and just see how much this build will run you kind of in total. Belly of the Beast has spiked up heavily. Very heavily, jeez. Okay, about 20 to 30C. It is definitely not on the cheap side, but any chest piece that has life and then extra resistances will work just fine for you. This is if you want to start pushing into higher life amounts, then you want to aim for something like this. And on here we have Ancestral War Chief alongside Culling Strike support. This is absolutely exceptional. This makes it so that if something is at 10% HP, you drop down your Ancestral War Chief and it'll just whack it and kill it instantly at 10%, saving you mana, saving you time, and while the Ancestral War Chief is out, you will gain increased damage just for standing near it. So you're going to want to make sure you pop this fella down when you get to a boss, and attempt to keep it up. It will probably die a lot, so watch up in your left hand corner. You can see when you have summoned totems. That will make sure that you can keep it up relatively consistently, get the bonus damage, and make sure you can get the Culling Strike. Added to that we have Brutality. This is what I was talking about before. With more fizz, no elemental damage, no chaos damage, this just boosts the hell out of Ancestral War Chief. It makes it rather scary, and then more melee fizz damage support for more damage, because why not? Leap Slam unlinked, we can put faster attacks if you wanted to, maybe in the boots, but of course we're running Combs Roots just for extra health. This is personal choice. And then we have Blood Rage. You can put Blood Rage anywhere, in a spare slot, in an unset ring, in an unset necklace. it doesn't really matter. Just Blood Rage by itself will work wonders for you. Now on the gloves, we've got Vulnerability, linked to increased area of effect, and Blasphemy. Now this is a setup I like to run personally. It can do some pretty crazy damage increases. Essentially anything near you will be taking a metric shit ton of bonus damage. 38% increased phys damage, 20% chance to be maimed, and increased chance to bleed, 20% chance to bleed as well. And then cursed enemies take increased physical damage from damage over time. So that increases the damage of maim and bleed, and it just boosts your damage all in all. This is a personal favorite setup of mine. You could get an extra socket in here. Say you want to put a Blood Rage in here, you just get a 4 socket here and a 3 link with a green empty slot for the Blood Rage, and then you are good to go. Now up in the helmet we have cast when damage taken, summon Flame Golem. You saw in my Cyclone build that I had cast when damage taken, Immortal Call. Now that is good, but not for this build, because instantly removing all of our endurance charges is not going to be a good idea. Immuning us to spikes is nice, but for the most part, since we are playing a little bit more ranged thanks to Cyclone, we can dodge spikes ourselves and just not have to worry about the whole Immortal Call saving us type of thing. And as a result, we just don't run cast when damage taken Immortal Call, because I like keeping my endurance charges personally. Up in the helmet I have Portal because I'm a little lazy. I have Herald of Ash linked to nothing. You can link this to increase burning damage support if you want some extra damage out of Herald of Ash. But otherwise, that is pretty much it. Necklace, you want to get an Impresence, Flammability and Presence, if you are rolling in money. Me, not so much. Otherwise, just use the jewelry slots for problem solving, being health, increase, bonus bits of stats, and resistances. And then lastly, the belt, the piece that I only got recently, which makes things a lot faster and a whole lot more fun, which is the Perseverance Vanguard belt, which you have Onslaught while you have Fortify. And keep in mind, we get Fortify from Fortify support on Sunder, making it so that every time we hit something, we get Fortify, and we essentially get what would be called a 7 link. Or, well, I guess in my case, it would wind up being like an 8 link, because it has Endurance Charge on Melee Stun, and then Onslaught while you Fortify. So I would have like an 8 link weapon setup, potentially going, which is pretty crazy. But this is absolutely fantastic. Give you 20% pretty much flat movement speed, coupled with the fact I like running 2 Quicksilvers, because I like being fast. You go rather quickly. This also gives you cold resistance, maximum life, and a little bit of extra increased attack damage, which is also quite nice. But that is going to round out most of the gear. I have a second weapon setup, which I was using for the Leap Slam, and was doing some experimenting with one-handed Sunder, but it didn't really work out, so that's why you see these here. Now, if I remember right what the Prophecies key is, it is Y. I'm going to be running Lunaris, which is increased movement speed for each enemy nearby, and then physical damage reduction for each nearby enemy up to 8%. And then I like to run Grithcole, which is 1% physical damage reduction for each hit you've taken recently, up to a maximum of 5%. And that is pretty much going to round out my Break the Tide Sunder Juggernaut. This is a very, very fun build. Took a little bit of experimenting to get to after the original plan backfired, but the glory of Path of Exile is that so long as you follow a well enough set skill tree, you can transition to pretty much any build that you want to. That is probably my favorite part of Path of Exile. But that being said, that is going to round out this build guide. Stay tuned for tomorrow's gameplay showcase, where you can see me tearing up some maps with this build. As always, take care, lads.
So heaven if you sent us down, so we